Hi, my name is Alina Eisenhauer and I'm coming to you today from Sweet in Worcester, Massachusetts. Today we're going to be making a baked fondue, which is pretty much all the best parts of fondue, which was one of my favorite winter dishes. Really good Swiss cheeses, a few different kinds of cheese, wine, and a little bit of garlic all in there. And we're just going to make it a lot simpler by baking it all into one dish instead of having the separate components that you have to dip. So what I'm going to start with here is I have about 6 cups of bread cubed up. You want stale bread. Any kind of bread is fine, but let it dry out and get stale. I prefer to use either focaccia, ciabatta, some kind of rustic Italian or French bread is good too. So I'm going to take that and we're going to put about a cup and a half of wine on it. You can be a little bit generous. You want to use a dry white wine and something decent. I am a firm believer in don't cook with something you wouldn't drink, so don't buy a really cheap, horrible bottle of wine because you are going to taste the wine pretty predominantly in the dish. I'm just going to mix it so you kind of coat everything. A little more never hurt. And then I'm going to add to that a teaspoon of granulated garlic and also a teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to let that sit for a minute while we move on to the custard part of the dish. So for the custard, this is just like a sweet bread pudding. We're basically making a savory bread pudding. So in this bowl I have 6 eggs. And I'm going to add to that 2 cups of whole milk. And I'm just going to whisk it to break up your egg yolks. Get everything really well mixed together. If you don't mix it well enough, you're going to run into a problem that you're going to have like chunks of egg or streaks in your bread pudding, and you don't want that. You want a really nice creamy custard. When this bakes, it almost souffles. It gets kind of puffy with all the cheese in it. It's a beautiful thing. Anything with a lot of cheese is a beautiful thing. So to that, we're going to add, actually we'll add our bread first. We're going to add all the bread right into the custard. And then to that, we're going to add about 4 ounces of Swiss cheese, just sliced up into about like a little 1-inch slice. It's not really important as long as they're about that size. They don't have to be perfectly square or anything. And I'm just going to toss that together and let it sit in the bowl for maybe about 10 minutes just so the bread can soak up some of the custard. You don't want it to soak it up too much. You don't want it to turn into mush. You don't want to overwork it. Some bread pudding calls for that, but in this case, because we're kind of replicating fondue, you want the chunks to kind of replicate the chunks that you have in fondue when you're dipping it into the cheese, a little bit of texture. So we're just going to let that sit for about 10 minutes. So now that our mixture has sat for about 10 minutes and it's absorbed some of the custard, we're ready to portion it out. You have a couple of different options here. I like to put them into individual ramekins, and then you can serve them to your guests individually. Even if you're putting them on a buffet, it looks nice, but it's just a little bit neater of a presentation. If you wanted to, you could bake it in a whole casserole dish in like a 9 by 13-inch pan and grease it, spray it with some pan spray, and put it in there, cover it loosely with foil, and then bake the whole thing. But I'm going to show you 2 different size ramekins today. So you could do this depending if it was a side dish or if you were kind of serving it on its own or like with a little salad or something as your entree. And you're just going to take your mixture and kind of tuck it right down into the ramekin. You're eyeballing it, but you want to try and make sure that your cheese and your bread are kind of evenly dispersed. You want just a big pocket of cheese. Not that that's bad, but a little bit of everything in every bite is better. And if you're doing the smaller ones, it's just the exact same thing. This will make about, again, it's going to depend on the size of your ramekin exactly how many it makes. If you're using this smaller size, it'll make around 6. If you're using the big size, you're going to get about 4. And I like to pile them so it comes up over the top a little bit, but keep in mind we need to leave a little room to gild the lily with some grated Gruyere on top. So once you have it all in there, then you're just going to take a little bit extra of the custard that's left in the bowl and pour that over top. You want to portion them all out first, and then basically you're going to take the leftover custard and just kind of evenly spread it out between however many ramekins you have. And that's it. And then the best part, you're going to take some grated Gruyere cheese. You have a little bit of flexibility. If you like Emmentaler better, you could use Emmentaler, or you could use Emmentaler in the inside, or mix a couple. But you want to stick with all Swiss cheeses and with the white wine, in keeping with the whole fondue theme. I'm just going to really pile this on top because more cheese is more better. So now that you have them all topped with cheese, you're going to put them on a baking sheet or some sort of a pan just to catch the extra cheese so it doesn't end up all over your oven. You're going to loosely tent it with foil and put them into a preheated 350-degree oven. You're going to bake them for about 20 minutes and then remove the foil, give them a check, make sure that they're pretty much set, and you can leave the foil off to bake for another 5 or 10 minutes until they're bubbly and a little bit golden brown on top. At that point, you can take them out and enjoy. So now our fondues have come out of the oven, and as you can tell, they're just set slightly. You want a little bit of jiggle to them still. You don't want to overbake them and dry them out. And that's it. That's all there is to the recipe. You can serve it just like that. You can serve it as a side. It's a really nice side with beef or something. If you do the smaller ones, a big one, put a little green salad with it, and you have a meal. Enjoy.